Welcome. We're diving deep into empathy research today, specifically in human-computer interaction and computer-supported cooperative work.
Those fields might seem quite distinct initially. However, their convergence is crucial as technology strives to comprehend and respond to human emotions.
Indeed, the tech world is becoming more focused on incorporating empathy, but a fundamental hurdle lies in defining empathy itself. Researchers are struggling to reach a consensus on its meaning.
That's right. Our deep dive today stems from a scoping review conducted in 2024 by Jentz and Verma. This review analyzed 121 academic papers from the ACM Digital Library. All of these papers explored the very question of empathy in the context of technology. What they discovered was a surprising absence of agreement on what empathy actually is.
So by the end of this deep dive, we aim to equip you with an understanding not just of the various definitions of empathy, but also how researchers are measuring it, how they're trying to induce it, and ultimately how it's being used to shape the technology we all interact with on a daily basis. Perhaps a sensible starting point is that fundamental question. What is empathy?
The review emphasizes the multifaceted nature of empathy. In the realm of psychology alone, there are at least 43 definitions, and this complexity only amplifies when we introduce the world of HCI and CSCW. Even within this specific research area, a universally accepted definition remains elusive, and this lack of clarity has significant ramifications for how technology is designed and evaluated.
It seems reasonable that without a shared understanding of the objective, the tasks of both building and measuring become inherently challenging. Could you expand on some of the most prevalent interpretations of empathy that the researchers uncovered?
Certainly. The review identified 3 primary ways empathy is conceptualized. The first centers on the notion of empathy as the capacity to understand the experiences of others. This definition leans heavily on cognition, the ability to grasp what another person is going through.
On the surface, that sounds fairly straightforward, but I imagine it extends beyond simply knowing facts about someone's situation.
Precisely. It entails perceiving the world through their lens, comprehending their emotions, their motivations, and even their internal conflicts. Achieving that level of depth is a challenge in itself, let alone attempting to measure it.
So that's one perspective. What about the second?
The second definition emphasizes the act of actively putting oneself in another person's shoes. It goes beyond mere understanding. It involves actively striving to step into their perspective and experience their feelings.
I can see how this notion would be particularly relevant in design. When creating technology for a diverse range of users, designers must, at a minimum, attempt to envision experiencing the world through their eyes.
That's a crucial point. This concept of perspective taking is often used in research involving virtual reality, simulations, and even role-playing games. The idea is that by immersing users in these experiences, we can potentially cultivate a stronger sense of empathy.
It's as if researchers are proposing that genuine understanding necessitates experiencing another person's reality. And technology, in some ways, might provide a means to simulate that experience. What about the third definition of empathy?
The third interpretation focuses on empathy as an emotional response to another's situation. This is where the affective dimension comes to the forefront. It's not just about understanding or imagining, it's about genuinely feeling what the other person is feeling.
This evokes the idea of emotional contagion, where we almost involuntarily mirror the emotions of those around us. Is that what's being suggested here?
Emotional contagion is definitely a component of this perspective. The emphasis is on the visceral, almost instinctual reaction we have to another's emotional state. And this brings us to a significant question. If technology can accurately detect and even mimic human emotions, can it also elicit genuine empathy in users?
That's a compelling question. And it leads us to our next point. To effectively discuss empathy in technology, we need to establish how to measure it. But, as we've just discussed, even defining empathy is a hurdle. So how are researchers attempting to measure something so elusive?
It's a complex undertaking. The review found a surprising array of approaches being employed. Some rely on more traditional self-assessment tools, while others are venturing into the realm of biometric data and even sensory metrics.
Could you give us some examples of the self-assessment tools they're using?
2 of the most common ones are the Interpersonal Reactivity Index, or IRI, and the Empathy Quotient, or EQ. You may have come across these yourself. They are essentially questionnaires designed to assess an individual's empathy levels based on their responses to various scenarios and statements.
I have definitely seen those circulating online. However, it seems inherently problematic to rely solely on self-reporting. People aren't always the most accurate judges of their own emotions, and they might be inclined to answer in a way that presents them in a more favorable light rather than being truly honest.
You've hit upon a central limitation of self-assessment tools. There's always the potential for bias, whether it's conscious or unconscious. That's where observer assessment measures come into play. Instead of asking individuals to evaluate their own empathy, researchers observe their behavior in specific situations.
Could you provide an example of what that might look?
Certainly. One method discussed in the review is the pen drop experiment. It's a relatively simple but effective way to gauge a person's inclination to help others, which is often considered a reliable indicator of empathy. The researcher pretends to drop a pen and observes whether the participant picks it up for them. Straightforward, yet surprisingly insightful.
It's remarkable what we can learn from seemingly ordinary actions. So, we have self-reporting with its inherent biases and observer assessment with its potential for subjectivity. Where do the quantitative, biometric, and sensory metrics fit into this puzzle?
This is where technology truly takes center stage. Researchers are increasingly turning to objective measurements. Things heart rate, skin conductance, facial expressions, even speech analysis, in an attempt to capture the physiological and neurological correlates of empathy.
So instead of relying on someone's self-reported feelings, they're examining the body's involuntary responses to emotional stimuli.
Precisely. This approach is fueled by a desire for more objective data that isn't filtered through the lens of self-perception or observer bias. The underlying premise is that our bodies often betray our true emotions, even when we try to conceal them.
It almost sounds they're attempting to develop an empathy lie detector. But surely these biometric and sensory methods have their limitations as well, right?
Of course. A major challenge lies in the sheer complexity of these signals and the lack of standardization in how they're measured and interpreted. Our physiological responses can be influenced by a multitude of factors, not just empathy. Isolating the specific markers of empathy within this intricate web of signals is a formidable task.
It seems we've come full circle. We started by acknowledging the difficulty of defining empathy, and now we're facing the challenge of measuring it. It's a slippery concept, to say the least.
It certainly is. However, amidst all these challenges, there's a crucial aspect of empathy research that we haven't yet addressed: qualitative exploration. While quantitative data numbers and measurements are undeniably important, they can only reveal so much. To truly comprehend the nuances of empathy, we need to delve into the realm of lived experiences, thoughts, and feelings.
So this is where methods such as interviews and focus groups enter the picture.
Precisely. These qualitative approaches allow researchers to go beyond surface-level observations and explore the motivations behind actions. They can uncover individual stories, the reasoning behind people's choices, and the contextual factors that shape how people experience and express empathy.
It's about getting to the heart of the matter, the richness of human experience that cannot be adequately captured by a number or a data point. And this human-centered aspect seems particularly crucial when we're discussing the design of technology that aspires to be empathetic.
I couldn't agree more. Without that profound qualitative understanding, we risk creating systems that might be technically proficient at mimicking empathy, but ultimately fail to connect with users in a meaningful way.
This raises a compelling question. Can we intentionally engineer empathy using technology?
That's the question researchers are actively investigating. The review uncovered a range of methods being employed to induce empathy in HCI and CSCW contexts. Some of them are quite ingenious, I must say.
I'm quite curious about those methods. I'm particularly drawn to what the review refers to as the experiential approaches. Could you tell us a bit more about those?
Experiential approaches aim to induce empathy by providing users with simulated or vicarious experiences of what it's to be someone else. A powerful example is the aphasia characteristics emulation software, or ACS for short. It allows users, particularly designers and developers, to experience the world as someone with aphasia. Aphasia, as you may know, is a communication disorder that impacts language processing.
So it's a sort of empathy simulator. By temporarily disrupting a user's ability to communicate effectively, it forces them to confront the challenges and frustrations faced by those with aphasia on a daily basis.
Exactly. It's not solely about understanding the cognitive aspects of aphasia. It's about evoking an emotional response, a sense of frustration, isolation, vulnerability that can foster a deeper level of empathy. Beyond these simulations, there's a burgeoning field of research exploring the use of collaborative platforms and activities to induce empathy.
I'm intrigued by the notion of collaboration fostering empathy. Could you expand on that a bit?
Research suggests that working together, especially when access to information is unequal or asymmetrical, can lead to heightened empathy among users. Think of a team project where each member holds a different piece of the puzzle. To succeed, they must not only share information, but also understand each other's perspectives and limitations.
This compels them to move beyond their individual viewpoints and consider the needs and challenges of their collaborators. And in doing so, they develop a more empathic understanding of the group as a whole.
Precisely. This is particularly relevant in today's world of remote work and distributed teams. Technology can play a pivotal role in facilitating these collaborative experiences and, in turn, promoting empathy among team members.
So we have simulations that, in a sense, place users in other people's shoes and collaborative platforms that encourage perspective-taking and shared understanding. What other methods did the review highlight?
Another approach involves leveraging situational awareness to enhance empathy. The premise is that individuals are more inclined to help others when they are aware of their suffering. Technology can be instrumental here by providing users with real-time information about the needs and challenges faced by others.
This reminds me of those apps that connect people in need with those who can offer assistance, whether it's donating to a cause, volunteering time, or simply providing words of encouragement.
That's an excellent example. By raising awareness of other situations, technology can act as a catalyst for empathetic responses and what we might call pro-social behavior.
It's as though technology can shine a light on those who are often overlooked or marginalized, allowing us to witness their struggles and connect with them on a human level. What other methods did the researchers uncover in their investigation?
One area gaining considerable traction is the use of physiological synchrony and biosignals to influence empathy. This delves into the fascinating realm of how our bodies respond to and mirror the emotional states of others.
I've heard about studies where people's heart rates and breathing patterns synchronize when they're engaged in a deep conversation or when they're experiencing a shared emotional event. Is that what we're talking about here?
That's precisely it. Researchers are now exploring how technology can be used to monitor and share these biosignals, potentially enhancing empathy between users.
So it's the idea of utilizing technology to create a feedback loop of empathy, where our bodies are both responding to and influencing each other's emotional states. That's a fascinating concept, but it also raises questions about potential manipulation. If technology can be used to so effectively evoke our emotions, could it also be used for deceptive or manipulative purposes?
You've raised a crucial point. It's an ethical consideration that needs to be at the forefront of our minds as this technology develops. We need to ensure that its application is both responsible and transparent, with users' full consent and understanding.
It seems every technological advancement brings with it new ethical challenges. Speaking of which, the review also highlighted the use of facial and physical expressions to induce empathy. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Our faces and bodies are incredibly expressive, often involuntarily conveying a wealth of information about our emotional state. Researchers are exploring how technology can capture and even enhance these nonverbal cues, potentially strengthening empathic connections between individuals.
I've encountered those virtual avatars that mimic your facial expressions in real time, creating a more lifelike and engaging digital presence. Is that the sort of thing they're referring to?
That's one example, but it extends beyond mere mimicking. Researchers are also experimenting with subtly amplifying or emphasizing these expressions, making them more salient and impactful for the viewer.
So it's as if they're crafting empathy emojis, magnifying our natural expressions to evoke stronger emotional responses. But could this lead to a kind of hyper-emotional digital world where everything is amplified and exaggerated?
That's a valid concern. As we design these technologies, we must be cognizant of the potential consequences, both positive and negative. It's about striking a balance between enhancing empathy and preserving authenticity.
It seems to be a delicate balancing act, but one we must undertake if we truly seek to harness the power of technology for good. What other methods for inducing empathy did the researchers explore?
One age-old method that continues to hold immense power is storytelling. Through narratives, whether personal or fictional, we can step into the shoes of others, experience their world, and connect with their emotions.
Stories have this unique ability to transport us beyond our limited perspectives, to open our hearts and minds to new possibilities. I can see how they would be invaluable in empathy research.
They certainly are. Researchers are experimenting with different ways to incorporate stories into technology, ranging from interactive narratives that adapt to the user's choices to immersive virtual reality experiences that plunge users into diverse worlds and cultures.
It's as though they're suggesting, let's utilize this ancient art of storytelling to unlock the potential for empathy in the digital age. What a remarkable prospect.
It is remarkable. It speaks to the power of combining human creativity with the innovative capabilities of technology. But storytelling isn't the only avenue through which technology can engage our senses to evoke empathy. Researchers are also exploring the use of various visual and auditory stimuli.
This brings to mind those virtual reality experiences that incorporate realistic sound effects and even tactile feedback, creating truly immersive and multisensory experiences.
That's one direction, certainly. However, researchers are also experimenting with more subtle cues, such as specific colors, sounds, even scents, to evoke particular emotional responses. It's about creating a kind of empathy symphony that carefully orchestrates these sensory elements to elicit specific feelings and foster deeper connections.
It sounds an intriguing blend of art and science, but it also raises concerns about manipulation. If technology can so effectively tap into our emotions, could it also be used to control or exploit us?
Absolutely. That's a critical ethical consideration that needs to be at the forefront of our minds as we develop these technologies. We must ensure that they're used responsibly and ethically, with appropriate safeguards in place to prevent misuse.
It appears that every step forward in technology brings with it new ethical challenges that we must grapple with. But it's through confronting these challenges that we learn and grow as a society. So far, we've explored the multifaceted nature of empathy, the various ways researchers are attempting to measure it, and the array of methods they're employing to induce it, all within the context of HCI and CSCW. But what does all of this mean for our listener? Why should they care about all of this?
That's a great question, and it goes to the heart of why this research is so important. Empathy isn't merely an abstract concept. It has profound implications for how we design, use, and interact with technology.
So this isn't just an academic exercise. It has real-world consequences for the technology we utilize every day.
Precisely. If we can successfully integrate empathy into technology, it holds the potential to transform our digital lives, making them more meaningful, more human, and more fulfilling.
I'm eager to hear more about some of the potential benefits. What are researchers saying about the future of empathy in technology?
They highlight a number of key takeaways and open questions that I believe are especially relevant for you, the listener, as a consumer and user of technology. One is the need to move beyond individual empathy and explore its role in collective settings and group dynamics.
That takes us back to your earlier point about the importance of collaboration. Empathy isn't just about one-on-one interactions. It's about fostering understanding and connection within groups, whether it's a team working on a project, a community responding to a crisis, or even a global society facing shared challenges.
Precisely. And technology can play a crucial role in facilitating those collective empathic experiences. Another key takeaway from the review is the importance of considering cultural and gender differences in how empathy is both experienced and expressed.
This reminds us that empathy isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. What resonates with one person or one culture may not have the same impact on another. So as we design these empathic technologies, we need to be mindful of these differences, avoid imposing a single universal standard.
You're right. A truly empathic technology should be adaptable and inclusive, respecting the diverse ways in which people experience and express empathy. And that leads us to one of the most crucial considerations of all the potential ethical dilemmas that arise when we talk about empathy in technology.
It's a topic we've touched upon throughout our conversation, but it's worth delving into more deeply. What are some of the specific ethical concerns that the researchers highlight in their review?
A major concern, and rightfully so, is the potential for manipulation. If technology can effectively induce empathy, could it also be used to exploit or control people's emotions?
I can imagine a scenario, perhaps on a social media platform, where sophisticated algorithms are used to target users with emotionally charged content designed to trigger specific empathic responses and ultimately influence their behavior.
That's a concerning thought, to be sure. It underscores the need for transparency and ethical guidelines in the development and deployment of these technologies. Another important concern raised in the review is the issue of privacy. If we're using technology to monitor and share our biosignals and our emotional responses, we need to ensure that this data is handled responsibly and ethically.
One can envision a rather dystopian scenario where your employer or perhaps your insurance company has access to your real-time emotional data, potentially using it to discriminate against you or deny you opportunities.
That's a dystopian scenario we must be vigilant in guarding against. We need to establish clear boundaries and regulations surrounding the collection, storage, and use of this kind of sensitive information.
It seems the more we integrate technology into our lives, the more complex these ethical dilemmas become. Are there other ethical concerns that the researchers mentioned in their review?
A final concern worth noting is the risk of inadvertently reinforcing stereotypes through the use of empathic technology. If we're not careful, the way we design and use these technologies could perpetuate existing biases and prejudices.
For instance, if a virtual assistant is programmed to respond differently to men versus women, or to people of different races or ethnicities, that could reinforce harmful stereotypes and undermine efforts to promote equality and inclusion.
You've hit upon a crucial point. We need to be constantly vigilant and critical in our approach to designing and using these technologies, ensuring that they're truly serving humanity rather than perpetuating existing inequalities.
It seems we've arrived at a rather sobering realization. While empathy has the potential to revolutionize our digital lives for the better, it also presents significant ethical challenges that we must confront directly.
That's often the nature of technological advancement. It's a double-edged sword, requiring us to be both innovative and responsible, constantly questioning our assumptions and striving to create a better future for all.
It's a weighty responsibility, but one we cannot shy away from. In the midst of all these challenges, the review also highlights a concept that they call attentive curiosity, presenting it as a new dimension of empathy in human-computer interaction. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Attentive curiosity goes beyond simply recognizing or mirroring emotions. It's about actively seeking to understand the user, their needs, their goals, their context. It's about being present and engaged, asking thoughtful questions, and truly listening to the answers.
It sounds a more nuanced and perhaps more sophisticated approach to empathy than simply trying to program a machine to replicate human emotions.
Precisely. It's about fostering a genuine connection, a sense of shared understanding and mutual respect. And it's a direction that I believe holds immense promise for the future of empathy and technology.
So rather than trying to build robots that can feel emotions, we should focus on building systems that are inherently curious, that are eager to learn and understand, and that are genuinely interested in the human experience.
That's an excellent way to put it. Attentive curiosity is about cultivating a true partnership between humans and technology, one where each can learn from and enhance the other.
It's a vision of technology that I find both empowering and inspiring. It suggests that we can use technology not just to mimic human capabilities, but to expand upon them, to deepen our understanding of ourselves and each other, and to create a more compassionate and interconnected world.
Indeed. And that's perhaps the most profound takeaway from our deep dive into empathy research so far. It's a reminder that technology is ultimately a tool, and its impact on our lives hinges entirely on how we choose to use it. We have a responsibility to wield this powerful tool wisely, ethically, and with a deep sense of empathy for all. It's a vision worth pursuing, but as we've been discussing, the path forward is not without its challenges. As we continue to explore the potential of empathy in technology, we must be mindful of the ethical considerations.
It's a critical point. We can't just assume that because technology can potentially enhance empathy, it will be used ethically. We need to actively address those concerns as these technologies are developed and deployed.
Precisely. We need to be asking ourselves some tough questions about the implications of these advancements. For instance, if technology can effectively induce empathy, could it also be used to manipulate or exploit people?
That's a worrying thought. It suggests that the same technology that could be used to foster connection and understanding could also be used for less noble purposes.
That's right. It's a double-edged sword, as with so many technological advancements. So a key question we need to grapple with is how to ensure that these technologies are used ethically in a way that benefits individuals and society as a whole.
It's a complex challenge, and there are no easy answers. But I think it's crucial that we're having these conversations now as these technologies are being developed, rather than waiting until potential harms have already materialized.
I wholeheartedly agree. We need to be proactive in addressing these ethical concerns, establishing clear guidelines and safeguards to prevent misuse. Now, shifting gears slightly, I'd return to the specific methods researchers are exploring to induce empathy. There are a few more that we haven't yet discussed that I think are worth highlighting.
I'm all ears. The better we understand the range of methods being employed, the better equipped we'll be to evaluate their potential benefits and drawbacks.
One particularly interesting method that the researchers discuss in their review involves the use of visual and auditory cues to trigger empathic responses.
This reminds me of the way that certain films or pieces of music can evoke strong emotions in us, sometimes even transporting us back to particular memories or experiences.
That's a good analogy. Researchers are now exploring how specific visual and auditory elements can be used in technological contexts to create similar kinds of effects. Imagine, for example, a virtual reality experience that uses carefully selected music and lighting to evoke a sense of tranquility and peace, perhaps as a way to help users manage stress or anxiety.
It's as if they're composing an empathy soundtrack, meticulously selecting each note and each visual element to evoke specific emotional responses. But couldn't this same approach be used for less wholesome purposes? Couldn't someone use these techniques to manipulate or exploit our emotions?
That's a valid concern. It's crucial that we develop these technologies with ethical considerations in mind, ensuring that they're used responsibly and transparently. But let's not lose sight of the potential benefits. If used ethically, these techniques could have profound implications for how we experience and interact with technology.
It seems that, as with so many technological advancements, we're faced with a kind of balancing act, weighing the potential benefits against the potential risks.
That's right. And navigating that balance requires careful consideration, ongoing dialogue, and a commitment to ethical principles. Now, before we move on, there's one final method for inducing empathy that I want to touch on: the power of personal stories.
There's something incredibly powerful about hearing someone's personal story, their struggles, their triumphs, their unique perspective on the world. It can open our hearts and minds in a way that abstract concepts or data points simply can't.
You're absolutely right. And researchers are exploring how technology can be used to facilitate the sharing of personal stories, creating a platform for connection and empathy. Imagine, for example, a social media platform that encourages users to share their stories of overcoming adversity, providing a source of inspiration and support for others who are facing similar challenges.
It's as though they're creating a digital campfire, a space where people can gather to share their stories and connect with each other on a deeper level. It's a beautiful vision.
It is a beautiful vision, and it speaks to the profound potential of technology to bring people together and foster empathy and understanding. But it's important to remember that the sharing of personal stories needs to be done ethically and responsibly.
Could you say a bit more about what you mean by that?
We need to ensure that people feel safe and comfortable sharing their stories, that their privacy is respected, and that their voices are amplified in an authentic way. There's always a risk that technology could be used to exploit or manipulate personal stories, so we need to be vigilant in safeguarding against those risks.
That's a crucial point. It's a reminder that while technology can be a powerful tool for connection and empathy, it's ultimately up to us as humans to use it wisely and ethically. Now, having explored some of the specific methods that researchers are using to induce empathy, I think it's important to step back and ask, what are the broader implications of all of this research? Why should our listener, who may not be a researcher or a technologist, care about these developments?
That's a great question, and it goes to the heart of why this research is so important. The implications of this work extend far beyond the confines of academia or the tech industry. They touch upon fundamental aspects of how we live, work, and relate to each other in an increasingly digital world.
So this isn't just about building better gadgets or more engaging apps. It's about something much larger and more profound.
Exactly. The researchers in their review highlight several key takeaways and open questions that are especially relevant for everyone, regardless of their technical expertise or their level of engagement with technology. One of the most important takeaways is the need to move beyond individual empathy and explore its role in collective settings and group dynamics.
This reminds me of your earlier point about the importance of collaboration. Empathy isn't just about one-on-one interactions. It's about fostering understanding and connection within groups, whether it's a team working on a project, a community responding to a crisis, or even a global society facing shared challenges.
Precisely. And technology can play a crucial role in facilitating those kinds of collective empathic experiences. Imagine, for instance, an online platform that helps communities organize and respond to natural disasters, allowing people to share information, resources, and support in real time.
It's as though they're creating a digital safety net, a network of support and solidarity woven together by empathy and collective action. It's a powerful image. What other key takeaways did the researchers identify?
Another crucial takeaway is the importance of acknowledging and respecting cultural and gender differences in how empathy is experienced and expressed.
This is so important. Empathy isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. What resonates with one person or one culture may not have the same impact on another. So as we design and employ these empathic technologies, we need to be sensitive to those differences, and we need to avoid trying to impose a single universal standard.
You're right. A truly empathic technology should be adaptable and inclusive, respecting the diverse ways in which people experience and express empathy. For instance, a chatbot designed to provide emotional support might need to be programmed to recognize and respond to cultural nuances in how people express grief or sadness or joy.
It's about creating technologies that are sensitive to the richness and complexity of human experience, rather than trying to force everyone into the same mold. Are there any other key takeaways that we should be aware of?
One final takeaway that I think is particularly important to highlight is the potential for empathy in technology to reinforce existing stereotypes. And this is something we need to be very mindful of.
That's a disturbing thought. We've already seen how technology can be used to perpetuate biases and prejudices, whether it's facial recognition software that misidentifies people of color, or hiring algorithms that discriminate against women.
Exactly. And those same risks apply to empathic technologies. If we're not careful, the way we design and use these technologies could actually reinforce harmful stereotypes and undermine efforts to promote equality and inclusion.
For instance, if a virtual assistant is programmed to respond differently to men versus women, or to people of different races or ethnicities, that could end up reinforcing harmful stereotypes and perpetuating existing inequalities.
Exactly. It's crucial that we're aware of those risks and that we design and use these technologies in a way that challenges rather than reinforces stereotypes.
It's a reminder that technology is never neutral. It reflects the values and biases of its creators, and it can be used for both good and bad purposes. It's up to us to make conscious choices about the kind of technological future we want to create.
That's a powerful statement. And it brings us to the heart of why this research matters. By understanding this complex interplay between empathy and technology, we can make more informed decisions about the kinds of technologies we want to embrace, the kinds of companies we want to support, and ultimately, the kind of world we want to live in.
It's about empowering ourselves as citizens in this technological age, becoming more discerning and critical in our choices, and helping to shape a future where technology serves humanity rather than the other way around.
That's a vision I think we can all get behind. Now, having explored some of the potential benefits and challenges of empathy in technology, I think it's important that we also address the ethical considerations, which, as we've touched upon throughout our conversation, are quite significant.
This is a topic we need to delve into more deeply. What are some of the specific ethical challenges that the researchers raise in their review?
One of the most prominent concerns, and rightfully so, is the potential for manipulation. If technology can effectively induce empathy, could it also be used to exploit or control people's emotions for less than benevolent purposes?
Imagine a political campaign, for example, that uses sophisticated algorithms to target voters with emotionally charged content, specifically designed to trigger particular empathic responses, all with the aim of swaying their vote. It's a chilling thought.
It is, and it raises some really important questions about free will and autonomy in an age where technology is becoming increasingly capable of influencing our emotions and our behavior. We need to tread carefully here.
Absolutely. We can't just blindly embrace these technologies without considering their potential downsides. We need to be having these difficult conversations about the ethical implications, and we need to be putting safeguards in place to prevent misuse.
I agree. And another critical ethical consideration that we need to be mindful of is privacy. If we're using technology to monitor and share our biosignals and our emotional responses, we need to ensure that this data is handled responsibly and ethically. There are real risks here that we need to address.
Just imagine a world where your employer or your insurance company has access to your real-time emotional data and potentially uses it to discriminate against you or deny you opportunities. That's a scenario straight out of a science fiction dystopia.
It's a scenario that, unfortunately, isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. We need to be extremely cautious about allowing technology to erode our privacy and our autonomy in these ways. We need to establish clear boundaries and regulations around the collection, storage, and use of this kind of sensitive information. And it's not just about protecting individuals. We also need to think about the potential societal implications of these technologies. Could the widespread use of empathy-inducing technologies actually lead to a culture of emotional manipulation and exploitation? These are questions we need to be grappling with.
It's not just up to policymakers or technology companies to figure this out. We all have a role to play in shaping the ethical landscape of technology. As consumers and users of technology, we need to be informed. We need to be discerning. We need to be critical in our choices.
Well said. We need to be demanding transparency from tech companies. We need to be advocating for ethical guidelines. And we need to be holding those in power accountable for the impact of their creations. The future of technology is not something that's just happening to us. It's something that we're actively shaping through our choices and our actions. And the more we understand about empathy, the more we understand about its relationship to technology, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this complex terrain.
It's a journey that requires both caution and optimism, a willingness to embrace the potential of technology while also being mindful of its potential pitfalls.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Now, in the midst of all these weighty considerations, the researchers also highlight a concept that they call attentive curiosity, which they present as a particularly intriguing and potentially promising new dimension of empathy in human-computer interaction.
I'm curious to hear more about that. From what I understand, attentive curiosity is about more than just recognizing or mirroring emotions. It's about actively seeking to understand the user, their needs, their goals, their context.
Exactly. It's about being present. It's about being engaged. It's about asking thoughtful questions and genuinely listening to the answers. It's about going beyond the surface level and really trying to understand what's going on for the other person.
It sounds a much more nuanced and sophisticated approach to empathy than simply trying to program a machine to replicate human emotions.
It is. It's about fostering a genuine connection, a sense of shared understanding and mutual respect. And I think it's a direction that holds immense promise for the future of human-computer interaction. Imagine, for example, a virtual therapist that uses attentive curiosity to understand your unique challenges and goals, and then provides personalized support and guidance based on that understanding.
That's a really compelling vision of technology. It's both empowering and inspiring. It suggests that we can use technology not just to mimic human capabilities, but to expand upon them, to deepen our understanding of ourselves and each other, and to create a more compassionate and connected world. But is this vision realistic? Can we really create machines that are truly curious, that are truly empathetic in this way?
That's a question that researchers are actively exploring. And while we're still in the early stages of understanding attentive curiosity and its implications, I think there's reason to be optimistic. We're already seeing glimpses of this concept in emerging technologies, such as chatbots that are designed to ask open-ended questions and engage in deeper, more meaningful conversations.
It's as if we're teaching machines to be good listeners, to go beyond the surface level and explore the richness and complexity of human experience. Perhaps this is a good point to transition to the final part of our deep dive and explore this concept of attentive curiosity a bit further.
It is a good point. Attentive curiosity really represents a shift in how we think about empathy in technology. Instead of simply trying to replicate human emotions in machines, it suggests that we should focus on creating systems that are genuinely interested in understanding us. Systems that are curious, that ask questions, that listen deeply.
It's a move away from the idea of emotionally intelligent AI, which often focuses on recognizing and responding to our emotions in a somewhat superficial way.
Exactly. Attentive curiosity goes deeper. It seeks to understand the why behind our emotions, the context, the motivations, the individual's unique experiences and perspectives.
I imagine this would be particularly relevant in fields of healthcare or mental health support, where creating a genuine connection and a sense of trust is so vital.
Absolutely. Imagine a virtual therapist, for example, that uses attentive curiosity to understand your specific challenges, your goals, your values. A therapist that doesn't just offer generic advice, but tailors its support to your individual needs.
That's a powerful vision of technology. It's not just about providing information or completing tasks. It's about genuinely helping people. But it also raises some interesting questions. If we can create technologies that are so attuned to our needs and emotions, technologies that we might even form deep connections with, does that change the nature of what it means to be human?
It's a profound question, and one that I don't think we have a definitive answer to yet. But it's precisely the kind of question we need to be asking ourselves as we develop these technologies. We need to be thoughtful, we need to be critical, we need to be having open and honest conversations about the implications of these advancements.
It's about shaping the future of technology in a way that aligns with our values. A future where technology enhances our lives, our relationships, our understanding of ourselves and each other.
Couldn't have said it better myself. As we conclude our deep dive into the world of empathy research, I think the key takeaway is this. Empathy is no longer a niche topic in the realm of technology. It's becoming central to how we design, use, and interact with the digital world around us.
And as technology becomes increasingly intertwined with our lives, it's vital that we make empathy a priority. We need to advocate for its ethical integration into technology, and we need to be mindful of its potential both to benefit and to harm.
We all have a role to play in shaping the future of empathy in technology. as consumers, as users, as citizens. Our choices matter. The technologies we choose to embrace, the companies we choose to support, the conversations we choose to have, all of these actions contribute to the kind of technological future we create.
It's a reminder that the future is not predetermined. It's something that we're actively shaping. And by understanding empathy, by understanding its relationship to technology, we can make more informed choices that lead to a more humane and fulfilling future for all.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
We hope you found this deep dive into the world of empathy research informative and engaging. And until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep connecting.